Making a video about someone as big as Dr. Mike is not easy, because if you criticize his ways and his approach, we are only going to get backlash from a cult. And this is why I was hesitant to make this video, because you are only going to get negative comments and hate from people who are blindly following him and not from the people who are critically thinking. I meant to make a video about the technique Cyborg weeks ago, but I didn't because I was scared. And then I saw Mark Gabriel on TikTok growing massive sack of balls and making this.
Alright, so I'm potentially gonna get a lot of flack, and you can call me a gym cell or whatever the fuck, but what the fuck was that?
Yeah, and then Joffrey made a video, and then Alexander made a video, and hopefully coming me as third, always late to the party, or fourth or whatever, making a video now. I'm going to have a different approach, so sit tight and listen before you type your hate comment. The Technique Cyborg series is an abomination. Yes, you heard it right. Give anybody with some lifting experience lightweight that they can lift for 15 to 20 reps, and they are going to do it. I don't see the skill in that. In fact, let's go as far as to say that give anybody a lightweight with a really good body awareness who never lifted weight in their lives, like someone who is doing only yoga, and they are going to do this excessive range of motion, posing everywhere thing. Where is the skill in that? There is no skill in that. The real skill shows when the weight is heavy and you are nearing failure and you are about to complete your last 3 reps. If you haven't trained many people, you probably haven't experienced this or seen this many times, but if you just walk around in the gym, whenever someone is getting really close to failure, how many times they are compromising their range of motion? Let's talk about the bench press. How many people you have seen when it's a heavy weight close to failure and they don't touch their chest anymore? They just cut the range of motion. Yes, that's a skill. Or how many people you've seen whenever they are squatting that they are getting close to failure and they just cut the range of motion, they don't get to the sticking point anymore. I have seen way too many of those. That's where the real Technique Cyborg skills shows. If you can't maintain your form, your execution, your range of motion, because shit gets real, then you don't have control over the weight. You shouldn't be a winner. Not just playing around with some goofy ass lightweight just for the sake of submitting a video with perfect form, perfect textbook form, because they did look beautiful. I'm not sure if it's practical, but it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. I know I'm going to hurt a lot of people here, but control without intensity only means that you are good at playing with something that does nothing for you. And anybody can do that. And the comment section under these videos are full of people saying that all of these are small lifters. I don't think that's the issue here. You don't know when they started training. If someone has a good form, if they are 3 months into their training, it's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter if a person is a beginner, intermediate or advanced, or how jacked they are, or if they are small. The only thing that matters is if they are controlling a weight where there is intensity. It would have been fine if they used some intensity and they managed to keep their form, but we don't see that. They picked a weight that they could probably lift for 50 reps, if not more. I never bully anybody for their physique. I always go after what they are doing and what they are saying, because that's the whole point. And they have some videos up where super jack guys are moving ridiculous weights, but those are just ridiculous weights for me and you, and probably for a few lifters, but for them, it is still lightweight, but they could probably move for 30 reps or more. It is both sides of the coin, small lifter, a jack lifter, but it's the same mistake. No intensity, but good control. But just to stay at topic, intensity and technique. But this was the video that flipped me 3 weeks ago in the comments, and I was still hesitant to make a video because I was worried about the backlash I'm going to get, but here we are. This is what Mike Izatel said. Let me clear up some confusion. This person was awarded for having good technique, which he does. You can feel free to debate what good technique is, but let's not confuse 2 other concepts here. First, how jacked he is. That's not why he is being featured, so it's beside the point. And I completely agree with this one. He's absolutely right. It doesn't matter how jacked the person is, because they could be a beginner as well, or they just don't have fucking great genetics. But he is still working with no intensity. But this is also the last point where Mike Isotel is right. Second, how much weight he is using. That's not why he's being featured. So it's beside the point. The weight what you are lifting matters. As I said in the beginning, even a yoga fanatic can do all of these feats with a light weight, what we see there, but it's not going to do anything for you. There is no intensity. I don't see the skill why he was featured in this video. Real skill shows when you are fighting heaven and hell close to failure just to maintain your form and execution. I don't even know why I'm getting angry, but just stay with me. Now, if you think that he's sacrificing load on the bar for better technique, you are probably right, and you probably should be doing that too. The main reason you aren't is likely some combination of ego, misunderstanding biomechanics, and tough guy bullshit. Now that is just funny coming from him. And this last part was the one that really flipped me, that really got me, that got me grinding. Like, you're sacrificing intensity for what? Let's be real here. Anybody who has some lifting experience or a good body awareness, they are going to master the technique in a couple of months. And then what? Your technique is going to shift a bit as you are getting close to failure, but as long as you are training the targeted muscle, you are fine, because you need intensity. But we will get to the sciencey shit later. What is more important for muscle growth? The reps and weight, or doing it with the purest and cleanest technique possible? Technique first, effort second. This is not the chicken and egg question here. You can't grow muscle past the newbie gains without intensity and just with technique alone. But the same goes, if your technique is really bad and your intensity is on point, you are just not going to grow muscle. Like, think about it. If you are doing a quarter bench press with a really good intensity, you're not going to grow your chest. So of course your technique has to be there. But what I'm saying is that once you are past the beginner phase, it's both. There is no this comes first, effort comes later. No, it's both. You can't do it without both. But right now, let's just go into the sciencey shit. I'm following the stimulating reps model from Chris Beardsley, and I like Paul Carter. And I've been following Dr. Mike Isotel too for around 8 years, probably all of them, probably Chris Beardsley a bit longer. And I have never, not a single time in my life, followed Dr. Mike's Isotel approach, because it went against all the sciencey reason what I'm following, but I still like his content. Up until now, the stimulating rep model says that you need high level of motor unit recruitment paired with high level of mechanical tension. It doesn't say that you only need the last 5 reps. It only says those two things. And those two things usually happen in the last 8 reps. Let's say 8 reps. Really depends on the load what you are picking, because it matters. And the model explains the variables quite well. But let me give you an example. To have high level of motor unit recruitment, you need to be really close to failure. If you are picking lighter loads, you need to be extremely close to failure. You're not going to leave 1 to 2 reps in the tank. You have to be at failure. If you are picking heavier weight, even the first rep is going to be with high motor unit recruitment. So there, it doesn't matter if you are that close to failure. You can leave 1 to 2 reps in the tank. But I'm not going to go as far as to say that it is free. It is probably 1 to 2. But this is the neat part. Mechanical tension comes from the force velocity blah 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 relationship of the muscle. So that means that you have to have an involuntary contraction speed slowing down paired with increasing effort, and that is going to increase or get mechanical tension to a high level. So that means that if you are a technique cyborg and you are intentionally slowing down your contraction speed, you don't have high level of mechanical tension. You just have high level of fatigue, and you don't have high level of motor unit recruitment, because it has to be involuntarily. You can't control it. You just have to fight it. So this technique cyborg series goes against everything that builds muscle. For me, that just means it is an abomination. If you are sacrificing load just so you can look like this, and when you are finishing your set, your first rep looks like the last one, For me, that's not a win. And that doesn't even show that you have skill. It just shows that you're a pussy. You just don't train hard. You don't train with intensity, and you are actually not skilled. Skill comes in when you can control really heavy weight nearing failure. But now let's go to the range of motion part, because this ticked me off weeks ago, starting with the Ronnie Coleman comment.
What? Fuck up out of here. Look at this shit. What the
No,
fuck
no,
is this?
get the fuck out of here. What is he doing here? What is he doing? His ass is touching his fucking heels.
Please, dude, please.
Come
There's
on,
levels
get the
to
fuck
this.
out of
Come
here.
on.
Get
Come
out
on,
of here.
man.
What is he
No,
doing
no,
here? Okay, well, I'm not in the same camp as you guys.
I am yet again sorry if I deeply hurt someone's feeling, but you have to be a fool to think that Ronnie Coleman would be bigger if he squatted deeper. Ronnie has reached his genetic ceiling long ago, so for him to improve, it is nothing else, just upping the dose. It's not about changing the training. And Mike has to know this because he's a competitor. Because even for him, he reached his natural genetic limit. If he was to take off gear, he would just shrink. He would not grow, even if he's changing his technique and everything to these really excessive ranges of motions. So why would you say that? I'm pretty sure he knows this as well. So this is nothing else, just stirring up shit, just to get you riled, you and me too. If we could rewind time and get a really young Ronnie Coleman, and all we did was changing his training philosophy, his training approach, the only thing that would change is how quickly he gets to his final form. He would not get bigger, he would just get there faster with modern science. But that's about it. So the size would probably be the same. He probably wouldn't have gone through a lot of surgeries just because he is squatting 2 centimeters deeper. His leg would not be bigger. And I know Bald Omni-Man likes to say that there is no genetic ceiling, genetic limits, but there is. And I also know that he's only saying this so you don't have this approach in the gym that, oh, I'm going to go in, I'm not going to train hard because I'm going to reach my genetic. No. I'm only saying this so you know that if you have a really intelligent training, in 10 years you are going to max out your gains and you are not going to gain anything after that. And the reason behind it is simple: oxygen. If your body is not able to supply something with oxygen, it is going to go into necrosis and you will probably die from some nasty things like sepsis. But we are not going to do that because we have our genetic limits. And you are probably going to ask me, what about people who are taking steroids? They are bypassing their genetic limits. Yeah, sure. As soon as they take off the drugs, they are going to shrink. But not to mention, if you want to know the reason why they don't have this necrosis, is you just have to listen to your heart, or their hearts actually, and you will know the answer to that. Now back to the science. Muscle have something that's called length-to-tension relationship, and this has been described in the 70s. Actually, I only tracked it back to the 70s when I was in university in 2012. Even in 2012, we knew about length-to-tension relationship, but for some reason people are trying to deny its existence. Not to mention, neuromechanical matching is still being denied by a lot of people, but this is related to the extreme ranges of motions. Now, when you squat, we have studies comparing full depth squats to a parallel squat, and the full depth squat only showed that your adductor magnus grew more. So that means that the full depth squat is really good for adductors, but not for your quads. Now, I'm not going to say that it is not going to give you an overall bigger leg size, but just so you see that if you want to train your quads, going all the way down in a really excessive ranges of motions is probably not going to do that. It is because of the muscle's length to tension relationship and neuromechanical matching, because neuromechanical matching is just moving or shifting activation from one muscle to another. And some people will come here and say that, oh, but neuromechanical matching doesn't exist. Okay, yeah, sure. So if you are doing a reverse curl, you are mainly targeting your brachioradialis, right? It's fair, right? We all agree in that. If you are doing a supinated biceps curl, that's mainly biceps brachii. We can all agree with that. Isn't that neuromechanical matching? We are just shifting muscle activation to the muscle that has more leverage or better leverage to move the load, because they are both elbow flexors. So you already agree that neuromechanical matching is a thing ages ago, actually, but now we are just denying it. But let me give you another example. If I'm doing a row where my arms are really close to my side, that's really good for lats, right? Now if I'm doing a row where my elbows are going out to the side, that's more upper back. We can agree with that, right? Because it's anatomy and shit like that. So you already agree that neuromechanical matching is real. Because how else would you explain all of this? And you know, an RDL is better for glutes than a stiff leg deadlift, because with the knee bend, we are disadvantaging your hamstring, taking away its leverage and shifting more to your glutes. What is that? Oh, that sounds like neuromechanical matching to me. So you're just not going to accept that? You're just going to say that someone came here and magically activated these muscles? I don't think that's going to happen. We also have studies showing that if you are doing an incline biceps curl, that's worse for your biceps than doing a normal biceps curl, because you are overstretching it. It's working sarcomere length tension relationship, and it is just not going to experience that much stimulus to grow. So that means that if you are using really extreme, excessive ranges of motions, you are not actually going to get more out of your training. You just need to understand the exercise what you are using, intensity, and fatigue. If you are a gym bro or a gym girl, you are probably doing everything in your power to have really good technique after 1 year if you are still in the gym. So for you, in order to improve, it's only progressive overload, because progressive overload alone generates muscle hypertrophy, but technique doesn't. Technique without intensity and progression is nothing. Intensity is way harder to learn than technique. Progressive overload is way harder to learn and master. And fatigue is even harder to learn. I'm not even going to talk about exercise selection and programming. Now, Geoffrey and Alexander talked about this whole financial reason behind this whole being controversial, but I don't really want to talk about that. Like, of course, it's nice to get people riled up, leaving comments, and your video is going to get pushed to more people, and then you are going to make more money. Like, I like making more money too, but not at the expense of educating people. Because right now, I go to the gym and all I see is people lifting ridiculously light weight with amazing form and spending years looking the same. And yeah, sure, they're going to pay for your app, but then what? They are just not going to improve because they are technique cyborgs. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Ranges of motions are fine if you understand the exercise, and technique without intensity means nothing. And if you want to buy my online coaching, just hit the link. Like, subscribe, and talk to you in the next one.